Hello, friends. You get what you give is a simple but wise saying. You can interpret it in many different ways, but I think it means that real fortune comes only to honest people who are always willing to lend a helping hand. Today, I will tell you an incredible story about a simple firefighter who never thought too highly of himself, but who was always willing to help those who needed it. You're about to find out in what way fate rewarded him for it. Kenneth Cruz from South Carolina worked as a firefighter for so long that by the age of 65, he couldn't even remember how many lives he had saved throughout his long career. But despite his service to the state, he never believed that he should receive more than what he felt he deserved. When he retired, he did not complain about life, especially knowing that many of his neighbors and acquaintances have even less than him, some of whom were barely making ends meet. One of such people was his 42-year-old neighbor, named Bruce Roach, who worked at a construction site 20 kilometers away from his home. This man's life was far from simple. His ex-wife had taken advantage of her gullible spouse. She appropriated their house and joint savings and always made Bruce appear in a bad light in front of their community. Having lost everything, Bruce was forced to essentially start over. He rented a tiny apartment and lived off his modest salary, which was hardly enough for the bare minimum. Also, instantaneously, most of the man's friends and acquaintances turned away from him, expressing no desire to try and help him back on his feet. As you probably already guessed, Kenneth was different. Kenneth knew about his former neighbor's unfortunate situation and paid no attention to the gloating ill-wishers. On the contrary, he wanted to help the poor man, sometimes giving him advice, and sometimes something as basic as a ride to work. Of course, Kenneth always refused gas money from Bruce. He understood fully well that by doing so, he was helping Bruce regain his trust in people. Kenneth helped him, hoping that one day, Bruce would be able to return to a comfortable and happy life. Several months passed in such a way. The other neighbors never offered Bruce rides. They kept their distance and even walked the other way whenever they saw him, in order to avoid having to say hello. Kenneth was happy to drive Bruce to work. He would always pretend that he needed something in the city and that the construction site where Bruce worked was on his way. The firefighter later explained that he doesn't understand people who accept as absolute truth only one point of view and one side of the story. In the recent past, Bruce was a respected family man and everyone always greeted him, but making just one mistake made the surrounding society judge him. We should all look within ourselves and understand that all of us have skeletons in the closet. But that's not the subject of our story. The retired man tried to help his former neighbor get back on his feet. He understood that only work and support could accomplish this. I'll get ahead of myself to say that at one point, he had no idea that his care would soon not only help poor Bruce, but also radically change his own life. Having understood fully well that he had no one to rely on but himself, Bruce worked hard at the construction site, sometimes pulling double shifts in an effort to earn a bit more money and be able to afford a more comfortable lifestyle. It was hard not to notice Bruce's hard work, so in due time he received a promotion and a raise. It's impossible to say that Bruce's life became simple and carefree, but at least he was beginning to resolve his financial problems, and as such was able to afford some elementary comforts. In fact, Bruce was getting ready to buy a second-hand car to stop bothering his elderly neighbor and asking him for rides. In order to show Kenneth his gratitude, he decided to surprise him. It was cold and rainy on that day, but as usual, Kenneth waited for his neighbor to drive him to work. Kenneth's desire to help in even such bad weather did not surprise Bruce. After getting into the car, he insisted that the time had come for him to reimburse Kenneth for the ride. He handed the man $60. He was certain that Kenneth would refuse the money, but Bruce tried his best to show Kenneth his gratitude. For some reason, he convinced him to stop at a gas station and buy 3 lottery tickets. Bruce had known for a long time that Kenneth, like himself, played the lottery. At first, the idea seemed strange to Kenneth, but Bruce convinced him to choose 3 lottery tickets and spend the $60 on them. If no one wants this money, then let it bring us fortune. said Bruce when he handed the money to the cashier. The day continued as usual. The men left the gas station and Kenneth drove Bruce to work. After returning home, Kenneth remembered the lottery tickets and decided to check them. As is to be expected, he didn't win even a single cent on his first ticket. The second ticket brought him $30, which made the man very happy and caused him to smile. It's hard to believe what happened next. The third lottery ticket was special. An ordinary retired firefighter hit the jackpot and won $4 million. Never before did he ever win more than $100, when suddenly a huge sum of money fell into his lap. Of course, the man did not believe his fortune at first, but after sharing the news with Bruce, he began to realize how fortunate he really was. When Kenneth took the winnings, nobody could believe that he was able to hit the jackpot on one of his first tries. But that's exactly what had happened. Kenneth took the lump sum instead of 20 annual installments and received $1.7 million after taxes. What's more incredible is that the odds of winning the top prize of $4 million in the Ruby Red Sevens game is 1 in 1.35 million. This 1 in a million chance was a result of Kenneth's good deed. Kenneth said that he was going to use the money to build a new house and help his relatives. But first, he wanted to properly thank Bruce and provide him with comfortable living conditions. Today, Kenneth already accomplished all he had planned. It seems that now he has absolutely everything he needs in order not to worry about money in his old age. Bruce received Kenneth's old house and car, which he could previously only dream of. According to Bruce, when he found out that Kenneth had hit the jackpot, he was simply happy that a worthy person had won it, somebody who was always willing to help in a difficult time. In addition, Bruce was relieved that he finally was able to thank Kenneth for all those months during which he had supported him. It's important to note that this story, once again, shows that doing good without expecting anything in return will one day return to you, maybe 1,000-fold. Don't doubt it. Just be kind and help each other. Friends, here's a logical question. What would you have done in the place of Kenneth Cruz if you had won such a giant prize? Please share your thoughts in the comments. That's all for today. Rate the video if you liked it. See you soon. Bye soon.